Hey everyone and welcome. Today we'll be running you through a melee vs melee matchup with two different games from both Faker and Bjergsen. We'll first analyze Bjergsen on Silas versus Blaze Olive on Akali. Then we'll run through Faker on Akali versus top Korean Silas. In this guide, you'll learn a ton of concepts to winning these volatile matchups with excellent wave management and trading techniques that you can apply to most champions. Both Bjergsen and Faker stomped these mirrored matchups from opposite sides. You'll want to stick around to the end where we'll try to answer the question for which player would ultimately win with their superior matchup knowledge and execution. Before we get into the analysis, I want to make sure you know where these videos come from. Most of you probably know we make really helpful guides. There's a reason our guides are so impactful and stand out to everything else out there. As a huge team of passionate people come together to make all of this happen, please consider supporting us with a subscription to our site skillcap.com. Let's get into the matchup. Akali is an AP assassin versus Silas, an AP bruiser. Silas has more wave clear and more poke, but Akali's main damage source has a lower cooldown but is gated by energy. Basically, Akali can win quick burst trades if she dodges Silas E since that procs his aftershock. But Silas definitely has the upper hand in the matchup as he is one of, if not the strongest, laning phases in the game right now. Before giving them each a game plan, it's important to note both Silas's are using aftershock and both Akali's are running fleet footwork. Alright, Silas's game plan will look like this. Mission 1, push the wave. Since Silas has more wave clear than Akali, he wants to use his wave clear advantage to push, which leads us to Mission 2, trade with a minion advantage. From pushing the wave, that'll give Silas a minion advantage, which he wants to use to trade. Then Mission 3, bounce the wave and all in. After getting a health advantage from Mission 2, Silas wants to bounce the wave off the tower and look for an all in. And then Akali's game plan, Mission 1, let the wave push. Akali can't outpush Silas, so the wave will naturally push to her. Mission 2, play around Silas's cooldowns. Akali cooldown is very short, so when Silas uses his abilities, it's really important for Akali to trade back and not play too scared. Then Mission 3, look for quick burst trades. An extended trade versus Silas is terrible because of his passive, so Akali wants very quick poke or burst trades and then disengage with Shroud. Alright, we have our game plans, let's check out the gameplay. Let's start with breaking down the level 1 from both games. Bjergsen and Blaze Olive both don't do much for the first 10 to 15 seconds and focus on getting their last hits. Then once the wave is smaller, Bjergsen goes in for a trade using his E and aftershock, winning slightly. He waited till now to go for this trade because he wanted the minion wave to be smaller since Silas weaves in auto attacks with his trades. If we hop over to the Faker gameplay, look how much different the first 30 seconds are. Faker is looking for poke right away, which makes Silas use his E early to block the damage from Akali and go in, but Faker won this trade really hard. Why? One major thing that Faker did here different from a Blaze Olive is he used his Q cooldown advantage. If we go back, look specifically at this point where Bjergsen goes in. Olive uses his auto attack and backs off. This is very poor trading, as not only does he have his minion wave coming behind him in case Bjergsen tries to trade back with autos, but Bjergsen has nothing left after using E. But Olive can use another Q and an empowered auto attack. And here, Faker shows us the right way to play out this trade. He doesn't back down after Silas uses his E, waits out the aftershock, and then abuses the low cooldown of Akali Q. Alright, moving back over to the Bjergsen gameplay, after he just won that trade slightly, he plays very passive, waiting to hit level 2 and for his minion lead from pushing the wave. Once he has it, and the next wave arrives, he looks for a trade with his E like before, but misses and backs off. Olive responds with some Q poke, but doesn't get much damage because remember, most of Akali's early game damage comes from her passive auto attack after using Q. Then Bjergsen hits level 3 and goes in right away, landing a very fast combo, clearing the whole wave and using aftershock to tank a tower shot. This was really clean from Bjergsen. He made sure his passive hit Olive in between each ability and landed the E for aftershock, making this a really solid trade. But this was also very poor awareness from Olive. Whenever the wave is pushing to you, you know the enemy mid will have an experience advantage and hit the next level before you. So he knows Bjerg will hit level 3 first, and he knows Bjerg has the minion advantage right now. So walking up like this to use Q was really risky, and Bjergsen punished for it. Alright, Bjergsen crashes the wave now, which will prepare him for mission 3 since the wave will bounce. Let's move over and compare this last minute to Faker's gameplay. Picking up where we left off, after Faker had a really nice trade using his Q at level 1, Silas goes in as soon as his E is up, and again Faker doesn't play too scared and makes sure to trade back with a Q and an auto attack before backing off because his minion wave died.
Again, making sure to stick to Akali's mission 2 and not being afraid to trade when Sylas E is down. But if we look at the wave here, it looks much different than Bjergsen's wave after the second one arrives. This is where Bjergsen's masterful wave control comes into play. Can you see the difference here? Bjergsen was playing very passive early on, not using his E every time it was up like the Sylas that Faker is against did. This is because Bjergsen was slow pushing the wave, which led to him having a much bigger wave advantage and also prevented him from having to try and farm where he couldn't trade with Akali. You'll see what I'm talking about soon. Moving back to the Faker gameplay, the waves are even and Faker's playing safe, looking for a quick Q poke for Akali's mission 3, while Sylas is looking to engage in big trades with his E. Faker makes sure to stay behind minions and use his shroud every time he tries though, so he can't proc aftershock. Then, as the next wave arrives, this is where things start to get tricky for Sylas. He doesn't want the wave to stay here as he risks dying to ganks, so he wants to crash the wave just like Bjergsen did. But look how far away from the tower Bjergsen was when he was in this position. Bjergsen isn't in tower range when clearing these minions like this Sylas. But since this Sylas didn't slow push like Bjergsen and was spamming his E every time he came up, the wave is stuck here in front of the tower where he needs to be in tower range to hit these CS, which lets Faker poke him for free like this while sustaining back up with fleet footwork. Now that the waves reset in the middle, Sylas tries to do the same thing as before, jumping in with E, but Faker uses Shroud to dodge it, then re-engages just like before, abusing Sylas' cooldowns before finishing him off with Ignite and an auto attack. So this Sylas didn't let the wave push into him and just went all in, but got punished for it. Let's see what Bjergsen does differently. We left off with Bjergsen crashing the wave. So now the waves are reset and he's working on mission 3, letting the wave push back to him. This means he's not using many abilities. At the same time, pay attention to how afraid Olive is playing in comparison to Faker. Faker was constantly trading to bait out Sylas E and make him fight. Olive is just playing back, grabbing farm with his abilities, not making use of this time where Bjergsen doesn't want to use anything and is pulling the wave towards him. Now that the wave is far enough away from the tower, he waits for Olive to get greedy for this last hit and goes all in, landing a really nice E because he knew Olive had to be retreating, then tries to go for a surprise quick burst combo with Flash QW Ignite, but Olive flashes away before Bjergsen get the last auto attack off, and barely lives. At this point, Olive needs to recall and will miss this huge wave to the tower, which basically ends lanes like this that are so volatile, especially at such a high level. He's going to be half a level behind. Alright, so this might have been pretty confusing as we went over a lot of stuff, constantly swapping between the gameplays. But to summarize and make it more simple, Bjergsen slow pushed his waves, which let him get really nice trades that Olive couldn't respond to with how many minions he had, in comparison to the Sylas Faker went against, who fast pushed, and ended up having to farm the wave on Faker's tower, letting Faker farm safely and poke. We also talked about how important it is to use cooldown advantages and not play so scared when you don't have to. Whenever Sylas went in onto Faker, he wouldn't back down and used Q plus his passive to win the trade, especially if Sylas missed his E.
So, we released this guide on our website weeks ago and our subscribers really wanted to know who we think would have won had Bjergsen played against Faker in this matchup. Our answer to this was that if both had played at the same level while facing each other, Faker would win because he would take advantage of the level 1 trades that Olive failed to capitalize on. But Sylas does have the edge in this matchup, so it's impossible to say for sure. So that's what we think would have happened. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Alright, that's going to be it for this one. If you enjoyed this style of video with duo point of views, then hit the thumbs up button. We also recommend you check out what happens when low elo players try Bjergsen strategies by clicking the guide on your screen now. Thanks for watching and see you next time.